2009, a strange Reddit account quietly set off one of the internet's longest-running conspiracy hunts. The account belonged to a user calling himself Religion of Peace, later identified by the community as someone going by Milo. Milo wasn't a nobody. He moderated one of Reddit's most notorious subreddits, a board built around illegal content that would eventually get the entire forum banned. He also claimed, somewhat improbably, to be an elderly war veteran with stories stretching back to World War II and the Cold War. Some users found him oddly convincing. Others thought the whole persona didn't add up, especially for someone supposedly in his 80s who posted constantly, at all hours. On May 18, 2009, Milo dropped a link to something new, a site called Lake City Quiet Pills. He described it casually, like it was nothing, just an image host. But the name itself unsettled people. It didn't sound like a file-sharing site. It sounded like a euphemism. 2 months later, Milo posted his final comment, a throwaway complaint about spam. Hours after that, a different account announced that Milo had died at his desk. No family. No details. Just gone. That's when the digging started. Buried in the site's source code, users found what looked like job listings, except the wording was bizarre. Postings asked for Spanish speakers, no papers required. Others used acronyms that read like military shorthand. One term in particular got flagged repeatedly by amateur codebreakers, the letters WW, which some interpreted as shorthand for wet work, a real, if grim, term used in intelligence circles for an assassination. Then came the part that pushed this from creepy curiosity into genuine obsession. In January 2010, a Hamas arms dealer was killed in a Dubai hotel room, suffocated by a team that had entered the country using forged passports, a real, internationally reported assassination. Buried in the Lake City Quiet Pills source code was a reference to a party on that same date, complete with an itemized expense list, hotel rooms, transportation, medical supplies, totaling close to $94,000. To the people watching, the coincidence felt too precise to be nothing. Digging further, researchers connected the account to another handle, Angel26, active on military and mercenary forums going back to the early 2000s, with an email address baked directly into the Lake City Quiet Pills domain itself. And then there was the name. Lake City wasn't picked at random, it traces back to a real ammunition plant in Missouri that has produced billions of rounds for the US military. To the internet's amateur investigators, Quiet Pills wasn't a euphemism for medication. It was a euphemism for bullets. After 2010, updates stopped. The site eventually disappeared. No resolution, no confession, no debunking, just silence, and a decade and a half of people still arguing about what it all meant. In March 2015, a YouTube channel called Unfavorable Semicircle appeared with no announcement and no explanation, and then did something no human operator reasonably could. It started small, a 4-second clip of a blurry brown screen, titled with an astrological glyph and a string of numbers. Then another. Then another. Within months, the channel was uploading constantly, videos with no sound, videos of pixelated static, videos of a flat robotic voice reading out strings of letters and numbers for no apparent reason. Some clips lasted seconds. One ran 11 hours straight, and was reportedly heavy enough to crash some viewers' devices just trying to load it. What made the channel impossible to write off as a prank was the sheer pace. Early on, it posted roughly every 10 minutes, already an inhuman cadence for hand-uploaded content. By 2016, it had accelerated to a new video every 20 seconds. By the time YouTube shut it down, the channel had uploaded more than 200,000 videos. No production team explains that. No single person explains that either. A Reddit community sprang up dedicated entirely to figuring out what it was. Theories ranged from a modern number station, the old Cold War radio trick for transmitting coded messages to field agents, to an elaborate alternate reality game with no entry point and no instructions, to a Google video quality testing tool gone rogue. None of the theories quite fit. Number stations have a rhythm and structure, this didn't. ARGs give players a thread to pull, this gave nothing. In 2022, someone claiming to be the creator surfaced briefly and called it an art project about abstraction and mystery. Most people who'd spent years on it didn't buy it. A handful of uploads stood out from the noise. A cluster of videos titled Lock and Delock contained flickering frames that, when investigators stacked them side by side, resembled the Voyager Golden Record, the disk NASA sent into space carrying recordings meant to represent humanity to anyone who might find it. Near the end of the channel's run, a numbered series titled Brill appeared, more structured than anything before it, and just as unexplained. In February 2016, hours after the BBC ran a piece on the channel, YouTube banned it outright, no public explanation given. Copies briefly resurfaced on other platforms before vanishing again. The last known upload went up in 2017 and was deleted within 30 minutes. Nobody has ever explained what it was for. If Unfavorable Semicircle was too loud to ignore, Mortis.com was the opposite, a website that gave you almost nothing, and that was exactly what made people obsessed with it. It went live on November 14, 1997. The entire page was a black background with a white login prompt. No instructions, no links, no About page. If you didn't have a username and password, there was nothing else to see, just an empty box, asking. That alone wouldn't be strange. Plenty of sites in the late 90s required logins. What made Mortis different was scale. People who dug into the site's structure found it was hosting what was, for 1997, an almost unthinkable volume of data, terabytes, at a time when most home computers still measured storage in megabytes. One single file inside was reportedly close to 39 gigabytes. Even today, that's a large file. In 1997, it was almost incomprehensible. The name itself, Latin for death, didn't help. Word spread through early internet forums, the kind of message boards where people traded theories about the paranormal and the technical in the same breath. A few users claimed to have briefly broken into parts of the site and pulled small amounts of data before it locked them out again, but none of them ever said what they found. That silence became its own kind of evidence. Either they found nothing worth mentioning, or they found something they didn't want to talk about. Here's the detail that turned this from weird old website into a genuine internet legend. Mortis.com doesn't exist on the Wayback Machine. Not because it was never archived by accident, the site had deliberately blocked web crawlers using a robots.txt file, specifically instructing archiving tools to skip it entirely. Most websites from that era left some kind of digital footprint behind. Mortis went out of its way to leave none. The domain was registered to a man linked to several other strange, mostly empty websites, one showing nothing but the phrase, dead but dreaming, another showing a single unexplained image with no text at all. Investigators also found loose, tenuous connections between the registrant and a handful of real-world businesses, including a dentist's office listed at an address that turned out to be an empty lot. None of these threads led anywhere concrete, but together they built an atmosphere that felt less like coincidence and more like a structure designed to not be traced. When confronted, the man behind the domain reportedly said the site was just private storage, personal files, even wedding photos. Most people who'd seen the scale of the thing found that explanation hard to swallow. Why would personal photos need that much encrypted storage? Why exclude it from web archives at all? Rumors, never confirmed, circulated that federal investigators had quietly reached out to some of the people trying to crack the login page, warning them away. Whether that's true or just internet myth-making, the effect was the same: people backed off, the site eventually went dark, and no one ever publicly explained what had actually been behind that login screen. It remains one of the internet's cleanest unsolved mysteries, not because there's a wall of evidence pointing in conflicting directions, but because there's almost no evidence at all. Just a black screen, a password box, and the distinct feeling that someone went to a lot of trouble to make sure nobody could ever check.